some big rich right on. I got some big rich right on. I got some big rich right on. I got some big rich right on. Yeah, no, I'm not Jordan, but I in the go. Diamond that way like a bull. Diamond that way like a bull. Yeah, diamond that way like a bull. No, I'm not Jordan, but I in the go. Diamond that way like a bull. Diamond that way like a bull. Diamond that way like a bull. I got some big rats right on me. I got some big rats right on me. I got some big rats right on me.
And welcome to show number 68. As always, thank you so much for rocking me these first 67 shows. By now, you know where to find me. If you go to SoundCloud, Stitcher, as well as iTunes, search for Trill Withers, the show will come up. Do me a favor, go ahead and subscribe there so that the show will come to you every week. Got the email address set up, as you know. That's trillwitherspodcast@gmail.com. Again, trillwitherspodcast@gmail.com. Also got the website up and going. I'm trying to post something, at least one or two things every day. That's lookingupfromthefloor.wordpress.com. Again, lookingupfromthefloor.wordpress.com. All right, first things first. On last week's show, there were three musical projects I was looking forward to listening to this upcoming week. And, you know, we're very thankful that all three of those dropped. We didn't get any pushbacks, any delay, any kind of shit like that. So I'm going to take a minute to talk about I'm Up by Young Thug, Khalifa by Wiz Khalifa, and Evil by Future. In that order, because that's the order that I listened to them in. And first, let me say, all these projects were 13 tracks or lower. 13 or lower. That was greatly appreciated. Y'all know I don't like long projects like that. And 12 or 13 is about my limit. Like anything after that just kind of feels like chores or homework or some shit. So I'm very, very thankful we got all three of those projects, and very thankful they were all very brief. And I don't know what it is with long projects. I can't really decide if like the last half of a long project is worse than the first half, or I'm just tired. But either way, I really appreciate it, fellas. I really appreciate that. Now, the first one, I'm Up by Young Thug. And I like it. I don't love it, but I like it. It's 9 tracks, and I like 7. So that's a pretty good batting average. I like every song that doesn't feature Lil Durk on it. And it's not specifically because of him. Like, his verses aren't terrible or anything. I'm just not really a fan of his stuff or these songs. So I didn't like those two. Everything else is pretty good. I don't really love any of the songs, though. And, like, I figured out, like, what happens when you like songs, but you don't really love them. You keep the tape on your phone, but you don't really go back to it. Like, I haven't been back to it much, you know, since the new Wiz dropped. And I'll give another listen. I liked F Cancer, Special, For My People, Hercules. I really like Hercules, but it's been out for a while, so the glamour's kind of off that one. And Breadwinners. Those are probably my favorites, but I don't really love any of them. None of those are really sticking to me like that. As far as the second one, Khalifa by Wiz Khalifa, I was pretty skeptical going into that one, just because his albums are so hit or miss. Like, they're so hit or miss. I loved ONIFC. I think it was a couple albums ago, but I hated Black Hollywood, his last album. So his mixtapes are usually pretty good money, but I like this album. I like Khalifa. I like about half of it. It's batting about 500, which again, pretty good. He's still singing a lot more than I would prefer, but when it works, it works. Like the Call Waiting song, where he only sings on that, that's fire. I like BTS, I like Bake Sale, Make a Play. I like Lit with Ty Dolla $ign. And of these three, I've actually found myself going back to this album quite a bit. Like, I've went back to it more than the Young Thug, probably not as much as the Future. So I did enjoy Khalifa. If you are a Wiz Khalifa fan who has been turned off by a couple of his last projects or last albums, I would recommend checking out Khalifa. It does sound like some of his older stuff to me, parts of it at least. And then this leads us to Evil. The album by Future. And like the first 5 tracks, I love the first 5 tracks. Like 5 in, I was like, he got it. But he never lost it. Purple Rain was a figment of our imagination, and he still got it. My only gripe with the first 5 is Lil Haiti Baby. Like, I feel like Lil Haiti, like, somebody's got to go back and put a verse from like 2011, 2012, like Rich Forever, Rick Ross on there. Like, it almost makes me not enjoy the song. The song's fire, but it'd be so much better if it just had a verse from old, like, Albert Anastasia Ross on there. But the middle of the album kind of lulled to me. Like Photocopied, Seven Rings, Lied to Me. They're all growing on me, but we're in that process. Now, the last two, Low Life and Fly Shit Only, those are fire. So I really like, 7 of the, I don't know how many songs on this, 10 or 11. But it's a good project. It confirmed my suspicion that Purple Rain was kind of the leftovers, and that makes me happy. But even then, the last couple of days, I've listened to Purple Rain 2-3 times, and I'm enjoying that more. So I don't know if it took evil to make me appreciate Purple Rain or what. I feel like there's probably a really, really good project in between these two, but we have to settle for two quality projects, and I'm good with that. He still hasn't really grabbed me since, like DS2 or 56 Nights, just from this run. But I can't really go into everything expecting those. This is a good tape. Purple Rain is looking like it's quality too. So we've got, we started off the year with two solid projects from Future, and I'm for that. I'm very thankful. One more thing, let me say, fuck this Young Thug and this Future beef, quote unquote beef, that's going on right now. Like, they do the subliminals on Twitter. They dropped at the same time. I don't know if that was to slight each other. Like, it would be nice, if they were cool and made music together, it'd be nice. I think they could do a fire tape together, EP, a couple songs, something. But even then, if you're not going to do that, then, well, shit, all out beef then. Like, none of this subtweet and stuff, like, that shit's corny. Like, I would say that Metro, our good brother Metro Boomin, who wants some more from time to time, would have to broker this peace treaty. But it's like him and Young Thug had like the fake quote unquote beef last year before they dropped Hercules. So I don't know. I can't really call. I'm not really feeling the fake beef or whatever, but I am feeling the tapes. I am feeling I'm Up. I am feeling Khalifa. I am feeling Evil. So we went 3 for 3 there. Still waiting on Kanye's tape next week. Hopefully I'll have a review for that next week. But I don't know. With the way this nigga's losing his mind, I'm losing faith fast. And maybe he never had his mind. He just didn't have a Twitter to broadcast it. He doesn't have his mind, if that makes sense. But yeah, he talking about Bill Cosby innocent. He tweeting out this fashion shit. I don't know what's going on, man. I don't know. I won't pretend like I do. But I'm still ready for the album. And hopefully I have a review for that next week. One more thing I wanted to say. I can't remember if I've talked about this on here or not. But I've listened to a lot of young nigga music lately. And I can't really say what young nigga is. It was just like before, I feel like I use myself as a measuring stick. I feel like a lot of people do. Like, if you're younger than me, you young. You older than me, you old. If you taller than me, you tall. You shorter than me, you short. Like, I am the barometer for all things that will be measured. So it was basically just anybody younger than me until I saw that Jeremiah is older than me. But he still make young nigga music to me. So he's a young nigga for the sake of this conversation. So I've been listening to a lot of young nigga music lately. I like Jeremiah, listen to some Tory Lanez, some Bryson Tiller, some cats on SoundCloud. And a couple notes. First off, like, the music is cool, but it's not really for me. Again, this is young nigga music. This is for young niggas. You know what I'm saying? Like Bryson Tiller in particular. Like the Don't song. It's a fine song. But it's like Dirty Macking to the next level. Now, my age now, like, I'm good off that. But if I heard this song at like 18, all bets are off. You know what I'm saying? It's that, like, damn, I just saw your dude and Sharon at the movies. That's crazy. I thought y'all was still together. Like, it's that type of music. And I can't get jiggy with that shit now, but there was a point in my life where I could have gotten jiggy with that shit. So I feel like you hear these cats being judged. This Tiller, people getting on his music. Yeah, but you judging it with a 32-year-old mindset and not a 19-year-old mindset. And that leads to the second reason why I enjoy young nigga music. Like, especially these SoundCloud cats. Like, these young niggas, they still hungry, man. Like, they've got a different level of hunger. Like Jeremiah, Tory Lanez, Tiller, these guys have, got their foot in the door. And I'm sure that they're hungry for more success to become, household names and whatnot. But these SoundCloud guys that are just trying to get to where, like, Tiller and Tory Lanez are at now, like, that's a different level of hunger, even trying to get, your foot in the door. And it's like they're all trying to make it, but they're all young enough and naive enough to think that they all can make it, if that makes sense. Like, they're young enough to think they can all make it, but they're young enough and dumb enough, and I mean that in a positive way, like, to think that they can all make it. Like, they don't know that how the game and just getting old will break you down and make you miserable. They don't know that, yo. You know what I'm saying? So that makes for good music. It puts a hunger in that you can't really replicate. And I'd recommend it. We talked some depression stuff. I had a couple questions about depression I may get to later, but I'd recommend that. Like, if you listen to the same old shit about a rapper taking your bitch and making her, you know what I'm saying, make them cheese eggs, and how whack your shit is and how dope his shit is and how broke you are and how much money he got. Listen to some of these young niggas, man. Some of these young niggas, they hungry. Like, they come from the same place you are, sometimes less than that, and they're hungry trying to make it. So I would recommend listening to that. Like, take a step back from some of the stuff you've been listening to and listen to some of the younger cats' music. Give them a shot. All right, next thing I want to talk about, I don't want to talk about, I feel like I should talk about, is the Super Bowl. Got to talk about the Super Bowl. And I had a worse and worse feeling as the week, or 2 weeks really, since the last games went on. Like, too much just seems strange. And I talked about it some on Twitter. I wrote about it briefly. But too much just seemed to be going on. And I'm happy it didn't come down like to the end like any, you know, just horrible calls or non-calls. Though that, like, the challenge of a catch for Jericho Cotchery, and I think he caught that ball. They called it a non-catch. And then that very next play, Von Miller stripped Cam, and they scored a touchdown. That's a big, big sequence. But Carolina had their chances, and I'm glad at the very end it didn't come down to like a phantom call or non-call. So I'm thankful for that. The Broncos defense showed up big, and, you know, their offense did enough not to lose. They're the champs, so congrats to them. I can take the loss. That's just fine. But the takes, I was so afraid about how brutal the takes were going to be. And they have been just horrendous, as we've all seen. And like dabbing Jordan, like when they put the crying Jordan on Cam's face, dabbing or handing away the football, it hurt my feelings. I'm not going to lie to you. I laughed, but it hurt my feelings. So as I mentioned last week, you know, I am happy for Danny Trevathan, Big Blue Nation. Happy for Demaryius Thomas, 478 representative. Happy for DeMarcus Ware. I forgot to mention him. DeMarcus Ware is somebody, you know, has been great for a long time. Seems like a good guy. Happy to see him get a ring. Peyton goes out on top. And, you know, I said it at the time, and it's going to happen even more. Like, get prepared for the Peyton Manning is the greatest of all time takes. Like, they're just bound to happen. Like, he's got the numbers and he's got 2 rings now. It's bound to happen. This summer, you're going to read more is Peyton Manning the greatest of all time pieces than you could have ever imagined. So just be prepared for that. Because Peyton's got 5 MVPs. He's got 2 rings now. A Super Bowl MVP. He's got the most passing yards all time. He's second in completions, the most touchdowns, top 5 passer rating, most game-winning drives, most fourth-quarter comebacks. In the playoffs, he's got the second most completions, second most yards, 4th most touchdowns. First person to ever win a ring starting on 2 different teams. And again, the 2 rings. Now, I would still say that it's Tom Brady. I would say Tom Brady is the best quarterback of all time. But you're going to hear more Manning arguments. And with those credentials that I just listed, I don't know if I can say that they're wrong. I don't know if I can say that they're wrong. Again, I'd still go with Brady if I had to pick anybody. Montana was a little bit before my time. And, like, get out of here if you're talking about some Johnny Unitas or some shit. I would say Brady, but he's got a decent case. Now, this ring, this win against Carolina, however you felt about him going into it shouldn't have changed it, because he clearly didn't do, you know, anything to win that ring. But there are times when he played great games for the Colts and they still lost. So it balances out. It balances out. As far as Denver, Von Miller played maybe, it's probably hyperbole a bit, but maybe the best 2-game stretch, like 2 games that mattered. His performance in the New England game and this game were 2 of the best that I can recall. And this Denver defense is great. And I was trying to think about, like, how great. Like, are they a historically great unit? I would say yes, but I saw them called the best defense of this century, and I don't know if I would agree with that. Like, just this century, we've had the 2000 Ravens. The 2000 Ravens over 20 points, or excuse me, over 20 games, over 20 game season in 2000, allowed 188 points, less than 10 points a game. I would have to put those 2002 Buccaneers up there. You had Simeon Rice, Warren Sapp, Derek Brooks, John Lynch. I think they're better than this Denver defense. I think I'm not sure, it was like 07 or 08, the Steelers, where they had pretty much a prime James Harrison and a prime Troy Polamalu and some great other pieces. Like even the Seattle defenses. Seattle recently, I think they were the first team to ever be number one in points allowed 4 years straight. Now, is the Denver defense better than any one of those units? I don't know. I wouldn't think of them as that, but I don't know why not. Like they had two great corners in Talib and Chris Harris, and a great pass rusher in DeMarcus Ware, and like out of this world pass rusher in Von Miller. So they're definitely up there. I don't know if I would put them with that company, but I guess time will tell. If they go on a run like the Seahawks did, or if they keep this up, carried into next year, go back to the Super Bowl like the Seahawks did, then you would have to put them up there. But the thing that really, really sucks, and it was jokes to laugh at Josh Norman and the guys crying after the game, but I can't, I couldn't laugh at that, man. Like it's not really a window for football teams. Football doesn't really have a window. Like the Patriots have had a long run, but they're the exception, not the rule. Like the 49ers were supposed to run shit for all this decade. The Seahawks were supposed to feast, and they, midway through the season, it wouldn't look like they were going to make the playoffs. Now, the Panthers were 17-2, regular season and playoffs. So they'll be in the mix for sure, but it's not really a window. Like football is such a brutal game, and that's why I don't really like Cam has plenty of time to win. Well, he does in theory, but this is a team that won 7 games last year and jumped to 15 wins. So some regression is probably in store. Outside of anything that has to do with them. Some regression, that's just, par for the course. You got to figure the Cardinals will be back. You got to figure the Packers will be back. The Cowboys can get healthy, they'll be back. Seattle will be back. Minnesota's a young team that just won their division. Like there's contenders. So to just say, Cam has plenty of time to win. They'll be 15-1 next year. I don't know if that's necessarily true. Now, as far as the game itself, we all watch. I'm not going to get into too much of that. We all watch the game, but I don't think that play calling did him any favors. Like Cam did not have a good game by any stretch. He overthrew a lot of passes in the first half. I thought it was nerves, but he was doing some in the second half too. He missed a couple open guys, and like against that Denver defense, there are not a lot of chances to take advantage of them. So you've got to hit those throws. You've got to find those open guys. And as far as the play calling, they didn't really do anything to take advantage of Denver's aggressiveness. Like I remember they ran a triple option. They got like 15 yards, and I don't remember seeing it again. Like they didn't bring help for either tackle. Like both those tackles were getting abused. Nobody's blocking DeMarcus Ware and Von Miller, one-on-one. Then you add in the field. Like if you've seen that clip of Michael Orr getting slid backwards like the fucking couch. There's nothing you can do about that. Ware's great, but you can't give him any help like that. So you got to do something. You got to chip or keep a tight end in or something. Like the Panthers are still running long routes. Like long routes that need time, for Cam in the pocket to develop, and receivers to get downfield, and they're not really adjusting their routes. So I get playing your game. I get sticking to your guns, but Von Miller and DeMarcus Ware are worth adjusting your game for. Like they're worth adjusting your game for. And again, they had the pick. Cam's interception should have been caught by Ted Ginn, bounced off his hands to no one's surprise. They had the drop. I think he had 4 drops, overthrown pass. I think he had 3 or 4 of those. The special teams, the fumbles, they just didn't play a good game. Their defense played well, but offensive special teams just did not really play well. And I would say of all the things Cam's getting criticized for, I think him not going for that fumble is more, I guess, justifiable for criticism than him walking off the press conference. Like, it was strange watching, but I mean, like, even then I say more justifiable, but even I don't really blame him for that. Like, it was strange watching, but I don't know. Maybe he thought the ball was going to jump. If he jumps, in that pile and the ball skirts 15 yards away, he's in the pile for nothing. And that's exactly what happened. The ball shot out like 15 yards. So I'll say that it looks strange. Him pulling up looks strange, but if I'm not mistaken, Drew Brees, tore his labrum, fucked up his shoulder on a similar play in San Diego. But, this is the Super Bowl. They were down 6 points at the time, 4 minutes left. So if there's a time you're going to dive on it, it's probably then. I honestly, at the time, I thought he was going to kick it. Like DeMarcus Ware just had a single hand out reaching for the ball. I thought he was going to kick it. He kicks the ball and anything happens. But I saw afterwards at halftime, Cam ran to the wrong tunnel at halftime and was a little dazed. Like they thought he might have had a concussion. So like he didn't take a few steps and stop. They say he ran all the way to the incorrect tunnel. So sounded like something was up there. Maybe that affected his thought process later in the game. I don't know. But as far as him walking off the podium during the press conference, I've got zero issue with that. With him or anybody. Like I'm a Cam fan, it's no secret, but I wouldn't have a problem if Peyton walked off or Tom Brady or Aqib Talib, anybody. I got no issue with that. Now you've got to be willing to take the backlash. If Cam, again, if he wants to be a role model, global icon, all that, it might not have been the best move for his brand, but he seems like he's willing to deal with the backlash. So fuck it. Why not? I'm all for it. Like that's better than him, standing up there and snapping. Like I think it was Chris Harris. I think he was more upset, the Broncos player was basically like right behind a sheet talking about him the more any of the media's questions. But what if he just decides to go over there and see Chris Harris about those comments? Then what? What if he stayed and answered the same way he had been answering them, like in a short, one-word answers? They would have killed him for that. Or if he answered them with a smile on his face, the way he answered questions for 16 weeks this year, they would have killed him for that. Like he couldn't win here. He couldn't win. Like he clearly wears his emotions on his sleeves at all times. And when they win, he dances. And when they weren't winning, we got the same think pieces and everything. So, I mean, if you want to question that, so be it. But I personally, I don't have any kind of issue with him walking out. And it's not just because I'm a Cam fan. I love that he defended it. Like he didn't apologize for it at all. Like I love athletes sticking to their guns. Even if you do something I don't necessarily agree with. Like I love the fact that he doubled down and was like, no, this is who I've been. So I'm going to be. It's why I'm here, really. And if the same thing happens, I'd probably do it again. So I definitely respect that. But it was a good season for Cam. Like one reason I really hate that it didn't end in a championship, and hopefully it will one day. But we're just for like younger kids out there who were, playing quarterback or playing whatever in their league and doing it their way. And if he won this ring, they would always have somebody to point to. Always. Like even with Vic did it his way. And you could always say, well, Vic didn't win anything. If Cam did this and won this ring and won Super Bowl MVP along with regular season MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, you could always have that to point to. And it'd be like a 7-year-old kid who would be a Cam fan forever. And he would always have that to point to motivate him. So I hate that it didn't happen for that. But there's still plenty of time. Still hoping, Cam X gets back in the mix next year for it. All right, next thing I want to talk about briefly was I don't know how many people are aware of this. There's a story going on in Tennessee, the Volunteers, their football program, and it's about a guy named Drae Bowles. And I was reading the story, and as I read the story, I was like, why aren't more people talking about this? So I was like, okay, I have a forum to talk about it. I'm going to talk more about it. And what happened was, apparently there's a history of, sexual assaults and rape cases being covered up at Tennessee. And it happens, I'm sure it happens everywhere, especially with, prominent football or prominent athletes, I would say. But it happened at Tennessee. And there was a player there named Drae Bowles. And apparently Drae Bowles had taken one of the victims who had been raped. Like he took her to the hospital. He encouraged her to tell the police, encouraged her to go to the police, and was jumped by his teammates on multiple occasions, like at least twice. So the story's out there. Again, look into it. I did want to bring that up. And, he had ended up transferring. And now I'm reading he's saying it was for playing time and some of this stuff never happened. And, hopefully that's the truth. Hopefully this is made up. Hopefully a guy wouldn't get jumped for coming to the defense of somebody that got raped, But I think it'd be naive to not believe that. So I'm not a big fan of, people, tweeting at random college kids. It normally comes during recruiting and it's very weird. But Drae Bowles is on Twitter. Like send that man a word of encouragement. Like he did a real stand-up thing there. And, and took a physical loss for it twice, was jumped by, other football players. And there was even talk that, guys were saying that, people like him got shot for doing what he did. So, it's not going to make what was done right, but, salute that man for doing the right thing, because I definitely know that was not easy for him to do, but I'm glad he did it. I'm glad there are still people out there willing to do the right thing. So, yeah, send that man a word of encouragement. All right, now to get into a couple of questions. First question is, which Wilt Chamberlain figure or stat do you find less believable? 100 points or 20,000 bodies? Which one do I find less believable? I would say 100 points, honestly. I would say 100 points. That's a lot of points, bro. Like, it's tape of NBA games from the 40s. But it's nothing from this game in like the 60s, knowing that Wilt Chamberlain was a star and was averaging like 50 a game. No tape at all, right? So as far as 20,000 bodies, I had read somebody did the math, and they said for 20,000 bodies from age 15 to 55, of course, of 40 years, he would have averaged 1.4 women a day. Now, I don't think that's unreasonable for someone of his stature. I don't think that's unreasonable. Yeah. Now, do I believe 20,000? I don't. I feel like he probably took, a hot stretch, like a good summer or something, and, multiplied those numbers out to get that number. I don't necessarily believe 20,000. But 1.4 a day over 40 years for someone of his stature, I don't think it's unfeasible. I don't think it's just impossible. But it's not a single clip. Just a picture of him holding up the back of the box score with 100 on it and a magic marker word. Like, that's what I'm supposed to believe. So which figure do I find less believable? I would say the 100 points, honestly. Right. Next question is, I know that a while ago you covered your favorite rappers' lies. I was thinking today about my other favorite category of lie, the Twitter lie. I was listening to Slime Season 2 and remember one of my personal favorites, the guy who said he played some Future and Thugger for his mom, and specifically said she doesn't listen to rap, and she responded with very nuanced takes about Thug's vocal experimentation and range and the darkness in Future's heart hidden behind the bangers. It reminded me of the woman who said her toddler told her that Sierra's dress was inappropriate, and using a proxy's fresh experience with the subject to make the point the person doing the tweeting wants to make. Obviously, that's just one specific type of lie, but I was wondering more generally, what are your favorite lies from Twitter? That's a pretty good one. Like my mom said, that's a pretty good one, because I feel like it's one we all used as a kid. My mom said, and my dad said. I thought a version of this was, my teacher said I wouldn't be shit. Like, you hear that, like every rapper got a story about my teacher said I wouldn't be shit. And I thought that was fiction until I asked about it on Twitter, and I got dozens of stories. And y'all had some really shitty teachers, man. Y'all had some really shitty teachers. Like, I'm not even playing. I got some horrible stories, and I'm very proud you guys overcame it, because I would have checked out early. Like, I've always been on fuck school. So, like, hearing that you ain't gonna be shit from a teacher in like 11th grade would have sent me down the wrong path. So I was so proud of everybody that sent in their stories. But my favorite Twitter lie, probably like the screenshots of convos that are faked, like the ones where messages have been deleted. Like, somebody just walked perfectly right into this joke, this screenshotable joke. Or folks saying what their boyfriend or girlfriend says is and isn't okay. Like, you're going out of your way to post something for people you'll never meet and who are ready to laugh at you. So it's very strange to me. So for that reason, that would probably be my favorite. The screenshotted conversation. So there's quite a few Twitter lies. That's probably my favorite one. All right, next question are two questions really. They kind of tie in together, so I'll kind of tackle those together. The first one is, during the Christmas holidays and football season, there are a lot of commercials of white people rapping and acting quote-unquote gangster. There's also a lot of viral YouTube music videos of the same thing. White families rapping parody songs and such. The videos and commercials bother me a lot, and I'm not sure why. Are they blatantly racist or just uncomfortable and awkward? We'd love to hear your thoughts. And he had referenced a video. There's a video of a white family rapping along with Snoop Dogg, like some white shit like that. So as far as those videos, there is definitely a racist element to it, because they would never hire the people that actually rap or act this way in commercials. Like, the families that might actually do this would not be in those commercials, because that's not marketable. But getting a rapper, like getting, a token, and that's not, throwing any hate at Snooper at all. A check's a check. But getting a rapper surrounded by this group of square white people rapping that is marketable. And even it's like, just to me, it's like men dressing as women now for like comedic purposes. Even if you think that's funny, like if at one point in life you thought that was funny, it's been done so many times that it's whack now. So even if you think white people rapping, hip hop songs or whatever is funny in 1992, it's not funny anymore. Like it's the essence of this country, really. It's like what black people do is cool. Black people themselves not that cool. So let's take that and not them, and everybody wins. That's why it's in commercials. That's why it's on YouTube. That's why it's on Vine. It is a recipe as old as time. And it kind of leads into the second question. The second question is, could you talk about your take on cultural appropriation versus appreciation? Like, at what point are you a product of your environment? What point are you acting black? Is it only appropriation if it's mocking? Is it truly offensive for a white woman to have dreads or models to have an Indian headdress on a runway? Can you think something is dope and imitate it without appropriating it? And I don't know, man. I'm, as you may have guessed, I'm nobody's sociologist, so I really don't know. But anytime I hear anything like that, I always think back to 50 Cent was on a talk show, and they asked him, how do you know who can call you 50, who can call you 50? And he said, if you say the United States of America flag has about 50 stars on it, then you should call me 50 cents. But if you say the flag has about 50 stars on it, you should call me 50 Cent. Like, if you notice, anytime they say his name, they go, like, white people go out of their way to call him 50. Like, they damn near jumping over the desk to call him 50 instead of 50, when 50 is probably how they normally talk. And as far as like the appropriation versus appreciation, there's been talk of the Beyonce Formation video, appropriating New Orleans culture in her video. Now, when I watched the video, I didn't see it like that, but I'm not from New Orleans. I don't have a horse in this race. And I follow some people that are from New Orleans and said they felt some kind of way with her doing that stuff in her, in the video some 10 years later after Katrina. And I'll defer to them on that. They were there. No, they were there. They lost things. They lost people that they love. So for her to use it in a video, and her not being from that area, even if she does have some family there, to do it 10 years later, I can understand how they'd feel a kind of way. Like, that's kind of the line with appropriation. Like, you weren't there losing our loved ones with us when everything was flooded, but now here you are. Like, folks want to take the cornrows and twerking and dreads, but not speak out when we getting killed. We getting shot by police officers back to back to back. You know what I'm saying? Folks want to wear the Native American accessories, but didn't see their lives destroyed the way the Native Americans were. And I always think of, there's another picture of it. It's a white man dressed up as a Native American, I'm guessing outside of a Cleveland Indians game, and he's arguing with a Native American. Like, that's pretty much the line right there. Like, every Cinco de Mayo, I watch Mexican people tell people that them wearing sombreros and fake mustaches and all that is offensive. Every year. It's going to happen this year too. Just wait on it. And every year I watch the people doing these things say, well, it's not a big deal. We're not trying to be offensive. That's not your call, though. That's not your call. If the people that you're supposed to be appreciating say it's appropriating, then you shouldn't do it. Period. Like, and pointing to one member of that group and saying it's okay doesn't make it okay. Like, there are people saying that there are a group of Native Americans who said that the Washington Redskins name was okay. Yeah, but that's not like the official tribe. If you look it up, it's like some group in Florida. They got paid to say it. It'd be like Al Sharpton or Jesse Jackson or somebody from the NAACP speaking. Somebody that speaks for me in no way, like stepping out and saying, "Well, no, we don't have a problem with white people saying the N-word. No, you don't speak for me. You speak for you, which is fine. They don't speak for me." But it'd be like, yeah, them saying that, and then, folks saying, well, Jesse Jackson, the NAACP, said it was all right. Well, that means shit to me because they don't speak to me. They don't speak for me, I should say. So, like the Native American headdresses, that's a big deal in their culture. Like, those had to be earned. And, you see it as an accessory. You see like a woman in a bikini, a white woman in a bikini, just walking with it as an accessory. And it seems to belittle that And the issue kind of like it appears to come in when you remove these people from their culture. Like I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, it was Bomani Jones that said it, but when white people can find white people to do things black people once did, why do you need black people? Why do you need black people? And it's not even that they have to do what black people were doing as well as black people were doing it. They just have to do it reasonably well. Like it's why you hear about the great white hopes in, sports or music or whatever. It's why Macklemore has a Grammy right now. Like, is Macklemore a good rapper? From my ears, no, he's not. But can he rap well enough to fool people that don't know shit about rap? Yes. And he has a Grammy to prove it. Now that Grammy is going to stand forever. So 100 years from now, he's in the history books. You know what I'm saying? Like, was Elvis as good as James Brown? No. But he was a reasonable imitation. You know what I'm saying? So the people removed from the culture, and it's about why white people rapping about cars and commercials or wearing dreads or cornrows on the runway. Is there anything wrong with that, in just those acts? Probably not. But you're removing the person from their culture. You know what I'm saying? You're taking the good without the bad, and that's not the culture. So, what's the line between appreciation and appropriation? I don't know. I think that's for each of us to decide. That's for each of us to decide. Because again, like the Beyonce thing, I never would have thought about that. But when I saw people from New Orleans, people who lived through that, saying they felt some type of way about it, how could we say they're wrong? How could we say their feelings are not valid? That would be extremely white of us to try to tell somebody that, their feelings or that their feelings aren't valid. So if there's ever anything you have to do, I would even say, if you have to ask, it's probably something you shouldn't do. Like Halloween's a big one. We all know about the shit that happens every week. Every year on Halloween, we get blackface. Every year. It never fails. And every year, some white person claims to play innocent, say they didn't know the history about it. And that's privilege. Sometimes they don't know. They don't have to know. They don't have to know those kind of things. So if you even have to question it or think it might be in question, you probably shouldn't do that shit. I hope that answered the questions. I don't know that it did, but I hope it did. All right, and to close things out, I got a lot of responses from last week's depression talk, and I really appreciate you guys. I got some very good, some very heartfelt emails. I got a couple more things to share. I won't go into too much depth, but people have passed on, some of the things that they do to deal with depression. I felt that they were too good not to share. So one thing, somebody, he had sent a story about how he had got a football scholarship. He got injured. His scholarship got taken away, and how that just sent him into a spiral. And some of the things that, that got him out of that funk was, he said, number one, realizing grief is okay. Like fighting the withdrawal is the actual challenge. Number two, make the big things small, make the small things smaller. Number three, lean on your passions. Number four, do your best to stay sober and act within the law. Number five, don't make happiness a goal, but work toward the things that make you feel great. Number six, get off Twitter, text more, call even more, and use a small circle to see face to face. That people that really care if you're sad. So I thought those were some good points. Somebody else had said one thing that had helped him was having conversations with people, like finding out what you mean to people. You know what I'm saying? And not in like that old relationship, what do you like about me shit, but like really talking to family, friends, people that value you in their life, and find out why. Find out what you mean to people. That might help you find your purpose. Somebody else has said, let it out. They had dealt with a loss in their family, and just holding it in, trying to be strong, ate them alive. Once they started to let it out, that's when they really started to feel better. So again, guy, if you need to let it out, you just need somebody to listen. I'm out here. I'm not hard to find. The email address, the website, Twitter, I'm not hard to find at all. You're not alone fighting this. And it is a battle, but it can be beat. It can be beat. All right, guys. And with that said, that brings show number 68 to a conclusion. So I always want to thank you so much for rocking with me these first 68 shows. You know where to find me. If you go to SoundCloud, Stitcher, iTunes, search for True Withers, the show will come up. Do me a favor, go ahead and subscribe there so the show will come to you every week. Again, I've got the email address set up. You can send me whatever. TrueWithersPodcast@gmail.com. Again, TrueWithersPodcast@gmail.com. Got the website, that's lookingupfromthefloor.wordpress.com, lookingupfromthefloor.wordpress.com. And before I forget, the Black Quarterback, the BQBX shirts, it's in the works. It's in the works. Be patient with me because I have no idea how to sell shirts. This is a lot more difficult than I had previously imagined. Like, not so much getting the stuff together, but getting together quality. Like, getting together quality. I don't want to put this on just like a bullshit design on a bullshit t-shirt thrown on there with some bullshit. Like, I wanted this to be quality, and quality costs. And I don't know, it's something I'm still evaluating, because to get it the way I would want it, I'd probably have to charge you all a lot more than I feel comfortable with. So I don't know. It's in the works. I haven't forgot about it, but it's in the works because this is something that if I do it, I want to do it the right way. So I hadn't forgot about it. Bear with me. Be patient. This ain't going to be like a drag out until like the football season shit, but I just know that it's getting worked on. I'm trying to find a way to make this shake where everybody can win here. But with that said, guys, thanks so much for the support and stay righteous.